let's get started with the first question. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit uh, about Wood and what you do there.
Yeah. Wood is actually a giant global company, but in San Diego, we are a environmental engineering and consulting firm, and our primary focus is stormwater. And so we support a lot of cities and counties and other local municipalities with compliance with the local permit. And so this can range from education and outreach efforts and compliance inspections to make sure that residents, businesses, and just anything else around town, they understand what the permit requires and how they can protect water quality. And then we actually get to go into the field and do water quality monitoring. And so we get to use that data to evaluate the health of our local water bodies and see how much the efforts that we're doing to protect water quality are making an impact.
That's that's amazing. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about what type of, or I guess, what aspects of water quality y'all generally monitor.
Some are permit driven, and there's a list of parameters that include metals and bacteria, pesticides, anything that could have an anthropogenic or human source. And just so that we kind of understand how much of it is making it into our rivers, lakes, and oceans, and what impact that they do actually have. And yeah, the permit also requires a lot of BMPs and other protective measures that would help reduce the impact of anything on our local water bodies.
Very cool. And I know you mentioned that Wood does a lot of work with a lot of different cities and counties. But I was wondering if you knew what are San Diego's specific strengths when it comes to stormwater or runoff awareness.
Yeah, the San Diego region approach is a collaborative effort, which is really great because water doesn't actually see borders. So it's going to go from city to city and not stop there. So all of our watershed quality improvement plans, they're at a watershed level. And so any city or county that is in that watershed, they get together and develop strategies and plans and goals together. And so they've evaluated all past data and other special studies to really hone in on what the priorities are and where they can make the most improvements. And so that collaborative approach that pulls in all of the agencies as well as private sector and NGOs is a really effective way, and it's a good use of our resources to make the most progress that we can.
It's great to hear that San Diego does with a lot of collaboration with local NGOs. But then I guess on the other note, I was wondering what San Diego might need to do better, or like what areas San Diego might need to do better in.
Yeah. San Diego is different from, say, the East Coast, where they have the infrastructure where everything drains to a treatment plant. Here in San Diego, anything that hits our storm drain goes directly to the water bodies without treatment. So we just don't have the ability to implement that much infrastructure, but we do where we can. And so I think that one thing is that San Diego is a very popular area to live, and we will continue to develop and expand. So just taking it into consideration, the impervious areas, and trying to reduce the pollutants that come from the impervious areas. And that's about the best we can do.
100% makes sense. And then I was wondering then, what infrastructure would be the most important, or like what infrastructure should San Diego look into first when it comes to protecting, or I guess cleaning up the stormwater runoff?
Um, well, there's kind of two aspects. We have wet weather where it's rainfall and anything that comes down gets washed off, and then there's dry weather, and that would be things like over irrigation or hosing down driveways and stuff. So there's things called dry weather diversions, and that prevents anything in dry weather from washing out, and it'll put it into a vegetated area where it can evaporate or be treated before discharging. So that's one infrastructure measure that we've seen a lot of success with down here.
That seems great. And then on top of that, I was wondering then, on top of what the city can do, what are some ways that individuals can help mitigate the effects of stormwater pollution?
Yeah, there's a lot of small things, and Project Clean Water actually has a pledge, a 52-week pledge, and they have small little things where you can, just focus on picking up pet waste or using dry cleanup methods. And they have a lot of really good ideas that individuals can do. So taking that pledge is a good opportunity to kind of rethink some of the things you do in your daily life and see if there's a better way to do it. Um, that's a good one. And then, yeah, I don't know, just really knowing that, like there's a Think Blue campaign where the rubber duckies wash into the storm drain and then pop up in the ocean. And I think that that campaign has been a really effective way for people to understand that what goes into the storm drain goes to our oceans. And so just continuing to have that awareness. But a lot of the forward thinking that has been done in the past 10 years is really coming through. And, knowing that you guys in high school already understand stormwater and all about it, it just shows the progress that has been made.
Yeah, that seems like a really cool pledge. And then I guess building off the fact of targeting the youth, our Aquascope project recently led a lab with some fifth graders in which we measured the pH of runoff from a local San Diego pond. And we were wondering, besides like testing pH, what were some other simple ways we could test runoff for pollution to sort of improve our curriculum?
Yeah, it's a great place to start. You can also get kind of a multimeter where you can do pH, conductivity, and temperature all in one. And that will just give you a little bit more understanding of what's going on. If you see an elevated temperature relative to other water bodies in the area, that could indicate that you're getting another input, and that could be a discharge that you don't want getting into that water body. Conductivity, if it has a signal that's higher than you would expect, it would indicate that there's a lot of salts. And again, you could just kind of start thinking about what is causing that change in water quality. And then another simple test that you could do is a color test. And they're pretty straightforward to do, but you'd expect it to be clear, or if there's a lot of sediment in the area from a natural source, that's okay too. But if you're getting a green or orange color back, then you know that something is a little bit off, and you can again start looking for what's affecting water quality here.
Those all sound great. We'll be sure to add those the next time we do an outreach project like this. And then I guess moving more to the policy side, since I do realize that Wood is also a consulting agency, I was wondering if there was any like upcoming legislation that the city of San Diego is working on that you would be willing to share with us that allows San Diego, or that San Diego is planning to do in terms of runoff.
Yeah, actually, so the water board sets a lot of the regulations for us in the whole region, and we're expecting a new MS4, which is the storm drain system permit, and that will be really interesting to see what comes out of that. But that really sets the tone for the measures that all of the agencies put into place. And they also developed TMDLs, which is a total maximum daily load. And that is a document that kind of guides the maximum amount of any given pollutant that is of concern that can go into a water body before the health of the water body or habitat is impacted. And they're working on some new ones, one in TJ, and that one's pretty interesting. That's an area that is of interest just because of the cross-border nature of it with the US and Mexico. So I'd say that one's an interesting to watch for.
Well, I guess then going more on TMDLs, I was wondering then, say like it's found in the water that it does exceed what the max daily load is. I was wondering what the contingencies or plans were in place to, I guess, prevent that or to address it if it's there.
Yeah, again, it kind of ties back to the WQIPs. Most of them are the water quality improvement plans. Most of them integrate any of the TMDLs, and they kind of focus on those pollutants. So a lot of strategies are developed collaboratively there to try to reduce those and get it back to a healthy level.
Um, then I guess moving on to that, let's say like a concerned citizen happens to spot an area they are concerned might have like runoff or is polluted. Are there any specific San Diego agencies they should contact to inform them about that?
Project Clean Water is a good hub. It aggregates all of the local contacts, and they also have one hotline where you could just report it and then they can disseminate the information. But they also have contact information for each city and county within the San Diego region. So great opportunities to get in touch with the people that can do something about it with direct hotlines.
Well, it's great to hear that there's a way to a way to report these things. And then I guess moving on, in terms of just taking a look at the big picture, what trends are you seeing like year after year when assessing the levels of contamination? Like, is it improving in certain ways, like getting worse in certain ways? And what's like the overall big picture of this?
Yeah. Every year we develop, or each watershed develops their own annual report. And for every goal that they've set, they report on the trend. And I would say that most are improving. So the measures are working and we're making progress to protecting our water bodies. And so I think that's all really great news. But if there's anyone in particular, you could get into that specific watershed's annual report and learn more about each one.
Okay, well then, in terms of like learning more about each one, I was wondering what resources were available to the public to learn more about like their local watersheds.
Yeah, again, just so every agency has their own website, but Project Clean Water is the regional one. And from there, you can type in your home address and learn what watershed you're in and like who supports different programs in that area. But Project Clean Water is a really great place to start just because it has everybody's information there for the whole region.
Nice. Then I guess a way to just end off this interview in more of a positive tone. I was wondering if what you believed were like San Diego's best areas or some of the best ways it's done to address like stormwater and runoff, or like what were like the most important collaborative projects they've had over the years.
Yeah. Let's see. There's just so many positives. I I do think that the Think Blue campaign has been a great success, and the revamp of Project Clean Water and their efforts to engage a broader range of San Diego residents. I think that getting everybody on board, since all of us live in San Diego and want to keep our beaches clean, just kind of expanding that network of people and stewards is really important. But I know every agency does a lot of individual programs and efforts, like more localized efforts. When they see efforts, they leave a door hanger on either residents or businesses' doors that say, hey, we saw this and we think that you can improve by doing this, this, and this, and then direct them to their website, which gives them even more information and resources. So I think that everybody's done a really good job on just compiling that information and giving really simplified ways that everybody else can join in on the effort.
That is incredible. Thank you so much for your time. Do any of y'all have any other questions? No, if not, then we're ending here. Again, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for taking the time of your day to come speak with us. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
You too.
Bye.
Thanks for the questions. Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah.